Yes, we are back again. Welcome back, my beautiful fashionistas, and to everyone who is new here. I'm Yvonne, and this channel is Yvonne Winifred Yuji. And in this video today, we are making these. I'll call them the side button-up trousers. They're kind of wide leg trousers. So, without any further ado, let's start the video. So for me today, I'll be using this cotton Ankara fabric. So beautiful. I've already folded it into two, just as you see, to get my two front pieces, and from the front pieces I'll be using them to get the back pieces. So on top here, I'm just going to mark the starting line, and I'm leaving ½ inch as the sewing allowance or the joining allowance to the waistband later on. So now guys, to get the width of this piece, I considered the side button allowance of 2 inches and a quarter. So those are the 2 inches side button allowance, and then a quarter of the hip measurement that I'm working with, plus the crotch ease allowance and also the sewing allowance. You can even add some ease since this is a free panty. So from the top, I'm going to be starting from the 1.5 inches because we'll be adding a waistband, and from there dividing the hip measurement that I'm working with by 4. I'm getting 10, and that 10 I added 1 inch to mark at 11 inches, just as you see me doing. And if you want, you can mark the knee length, but I won't be considering that today. And then we move up to down, which is the full length, and I added about 2 inches for the hemming allowance. So that is how I got the width and the length of this trouser. So guys, remember I told you we are marking from 1.5 inches as you've seen. So I'm trying to form this crotch line, like to elongate it fully. So you can either mark the 2 inches button allowance so that you don't forget, but if you have a strong mind, if you know yourself that you won't forget, you can just be considering it as you're taking these measurements. So me, I'll just be considering it. So along this crotch line, I'm also marking a quarter of the hip measurement, which is 10 inches plus the 2 inches button allowance plus 1 inch as the sewing allowance, and I'm marking along the crotch line and up here along the waistline. So I'm going to connect those 2 points here like this. So from there, where that line has ended, whatever I got from dividing the hip measurement by 4, I again divide it by 4. Whatever I got about 2.5, and from that line I continued with my 2.5 as the crotch ease allowance there along that crotch. So now whatever I have now along this crotch, I want to get its midpoint, the midpoint of this crotch measurement. So it was about 14, and I got the midpoint at around 7 inches, minus the button allowance, guys. So I'm going to mark the same down here, but here I add the button allowance. So anyway, all together the midpoint line is at 9 inches from the side, considering the button allowance also. So that gives us this straight line that I'm marking here, simply like this, so that I continue with shaping my trouser. So guys, down here I want to mark from this midpoint line, I want to mark about 5 inches. You know, it is kind of wide leg pants. So going at the front here from that midpoint line, I'm marking 5 inches, If you don't want it too big, you can also mark the other side 5 inches and you add the 2 inches button allowance like that. But since I want it to be free and very easy to sew, I want the side to be straight, so I'll be considering the entire side where the button allowance is, and this other side where the inner leg seam is supposed to be, I'm just going to connect from the crotch down to the full length. And I love curving in by 1/2 inch a little bit in here from the crotch is allowance into around the thigh area there. So guys, if you don't, I tried to show you here, if you don't want to make it a little bit really very big or really big or wide, you can consider that line, but I won't be considering it. I won't consider that line. I'll just consider the entire side piece as we marked earlier on. I think you've understood that. So up here along the waistline, I'm just going to slant the waistline by 1 inch from the top, and then from that 1 inch I'm going to connect to the sides at the top here, so it is kind of a slant line to form the nice shape of the waistline, because it is not all that straight, it is a little bit curved or slanted. So I think you're seeing where I'm cutting. I'm leaving the sides just as they are. This is a kind of a wide leg pant. So after the front, I have my back piece also folded into 2. I've just pinned it on top there so that the piece is one as I'm cutting the back piece. So I'm bringing the front piece and putting it on top here, guys, as you see. And I think you're seeing that at the top I've left a few inches, and even along the crotch line here I've left a few inches, and the side is just the same. Front and back pieces at the side are just the same. So here where there's the center front, where I'm pinning here, on top I've left some allowance. So I'm trying to pin it down so that it is easy to mark. So guys, on top here I'm just going to add 2 inches for this size of an average person. I'm adding 2 inches from where the front stopped for the back, and I'm going to connect to the side, kind of again as a slanted line like that. You know, because of the bum at the back, we need some allowance to make sure that the bum fits into this trouser. So guys, along this crotch line, or where the crotch is, I'm going down by 1/2 inch, and along that 1/2 inch line I'm marking again the 2 inches as I marked at that waistline on top. So I'm just going to connect simply as you see me doing, like this, kind of a curve to this point from the top there. So after there, guys, I'm just doing it by free hand. So from these 2 inches also I'm going to connect into the inner leg seams at the top around there. But if you want, sometimes you can add 1/2 inch or 1 inch up to the full length, but I wanted to stop it around there, not up to the full length. So that's all about the back. Now I can just cut it out also. So it is kind of, not even kind of, it is a simple trouser and very stylish. So now this is what I have. So I'm separating my front pieces into 2 and my back pieces into 2, so that I take in the button allowance. So that is it. So now guys, to start sewing, I'm going to take my pieces, all of them, and I'll be folding in the button allowance. Remember, we left 2 inches. I'm going to fold in by 1 inch, double, because we left 2 inches, so that is 1 inch, and again 1 inch, like that. And I'll run a straight stitch to tuck this button allowance down, all up to down for all the pieces. That's what I'm going to do. And a few moments later, this is what I have. So I've closed up that button allowance. So that is what I have. And also, after closing up the button allowance, I took in the crotch allowance for both front and back, so the trousers, both pieces are joined together. That is for front and the back by half an inch. So that is what we have. So opening my back, I'm placing right sides facing each other, that is front and back, and I want to join them. So guys, since this we have buttons at the side, it is going to be overlapping. The button allowances will be overlapping like this. One will be on top of the other so that the buttons can button up nicely. So along the waistline, you have to make sure they are overlapping before you join the waistband onto the trouser. So guys, I will do that and join the waistband, putting in mind that it has to be overlapping. And I'll also take in the inner leg seam. I make sure that the crotch points are aligning. That is for the front and the back. And then take in the inner leg seam by half an inch all round. So now for the waistband, I've already cut it out, guys, and this is it. It is 5 inches in width, and the length is the entire anyway, it is it the width? I think you understand what I mean. So to sew it up, I'll just join it together and sew by half an inch, and then fold it into 2. 5 inches folding it into 2, I'll have 2.5 inches on fold, and then I'll add it onto the trouser by half an inch. And guys, this is what I have. So I didn't tell you this, but as I'm adding this waistband, I left about 2 inches unsewn where the elastic will be passing. So the elastic will be passing there and run through the entire waistband. So guys, I didn't shape, but I forgot to tell you, but I didn't shape the waistline of this trouser because I'm going to consider the elastic to gather up the waistline. So I forgot to tell you that, but that is what I'll do. And I'll also add the buttons, and after I'll also just finish up the hem by double folding by 1 inch, and it will be done. And after everything, guys, this is the trouser finished. So instead of shaping the waistline, I didn't shape it. I considered the hip measurement along the waistline because I was going to use an elastic. But if you want to form a fitted waistline, please consider that. So guys, those are the buttons. Also, I consider those kind of the metallic buttons on either sides. That's how they look like, and I think you're seeing that the button allowance is overlapping, kind of a shirt. And this is the back. The waistline is elastic, and as I told you, it is a wide leg pant. It is free and really stylish. I like what I see. If you have any questions, please comment below. And opening it up, this is how it looks like. And that is our trouser today, guys. Tell me what you think about it in the comment section, and I will also be seeing you soon. Thank you so much for supporting Yvonne Winifred.